Hey guys, morning and welcome back to Island T right here on Win Media SKN. And you alright, Jay?
No,
Oh yeah, we heard,
can I
we
mention
heard.
that?
But I could tell you one person that is doing quite well. I can tell just from his demeanor. He came in here, he's all bouncy and spring.
Chipper,
Yeah.
French politician.
In the studio with us, we have none other than Mr. Stachio Williams. Stachio, how you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning to everyone listening out there and watching live. I'm doing absolutely amazing this morning. Thank you, Azim and Jade, for having me on this program.
You see what I'm saying, Jade?
You know one thing I love about these fresh politicians? They just come with the most energy and stuff, right?
Very fresh.
They come in and like, oh man, I have not a care in the world.
Not here in the world.
That's on the campaign trail here.
Okay.
No,
doing
man,
your
we
thing.
have some care, man. Our care is for the people. Azim. We have care. I have care.
Indeed.
You know, so I'm here to care and share that care.
Where you say the slogan be?
Winning for the people of constituency number 5. Winning big for Sandy Point, Fiction, La Valley.
Not that
Alright.
one, man. I like that one, but not that
We are game
one.
set before the show, though.
Yeah.
Don't worry, man. We are game set, yeah.
That slogan is something that persons have put out there, you know, but based on how they feel.
So how they feel?
They feel like I'm on like boiled corn.
Stachio, of course, we are speaking about, for persons who may not be aware, that on Sunday, you were officially launched.
It was Saturday, actually.
On Saturday, you were officially launched as the official candidate for PLP running in the constituency number 5 in the upcoming election, right?
Yes.
I must say, when you were announced, there seemed to have been a lot of energy behind the announcement. There seemed to have been a lot of your supporters, personal supporters, present at the event. Let's speak just a bit about how you got to that point. That point being, hey, a man who is known to be, by some metric, successful in business, entrepreneur. I have my own companies that I've built up over time. But now here I am, putting myself in a position in front of the people of constituency number 5 to be their political representative. How did that evolution happen?
Great question, Azim. I never saw myself as a politician, I'll be honest with you. Ever since I was a young boy growing up in Sandy Point, down the back way to be exact, in very humble circumstances with my mother who had 10 of us.
Well, anyway, say?
With my mother, single parent, who had 10 of us in a
God bless us all.
2-bedroom
Right?
shack.
My word.
Yes, we wonder how she got it do. But she taught us the importance of making do with the little you had. She taught us how to work together to make ends meet because we really didn't have much. And the only way we could have survived is to work together in our small community there. There were many neighbors as well, who in order for all of us to survive, we had to live neighborly. We had to find ways to work together. And so those early days, I learned how to work with people, how to provide, how to collaborate. And I grew with that in me. And so from very early on into my teenage years, etc., I've always been helping people. I've always been passionate about helping people, understanding where I came from, understanding the plight and difficulties that I would have endured in my own early life. And so that stayed with me throughout my life as I grew, and then I eventually had to find a way to move forward. Let me tell you, you ask about business, how did that come about? You ask about politics, how did that come about? So I'm going to give a little brief introductory and to develop the story, not in much detail. But at 19 years old, I started my business, and one of the reasons why that happened is because there was a need. 2 ways. My own family had very little means, and I had to find a way to try to provide. My mother was depending on me to provide for the family. And so I had to find a way. So I came up with an innovative idea. 1, to satisfy the need of the family at home, because we had to find a way. But 2, because I recognized there was also a need in the community and St. Kitts Nevis at large. And so my pioneering enterprise, SKN Vibes, which is widely known, became a household name
Indeed.
eventually across St. Kitts and Nevis. There was that gap where no online services existed at the time. There was no way for the masses, for the public at large, and for persons living overseas to really connect with what's happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I saw that need, and so I had the early advantage of moving on that. And so that was two needs that were being fulfilled at the time. Now, that experience also led me to realize the importance of helping and serving people. And that experience helped me over the years, some 20 years now, of building critical relationships, building relationships that matters, touching lives, employing people, providing opportunities. That has been who I am all the time. And even in the community, I was involved in the scout groups. I was involved in the spirit group of Sandy Point, where our efforts were bringing the community together. And I saw the look on persons' faces when they realized that they are important and they can contribute towards the development of our community. And so it's that trajectory that kind of laid the foundation for where I am today. Not that I wanted to do it, but when in recent times, the people of constituency number 5 realized that they've been neglected, they've been abandoned, they're trying to move ahead with the hardships of the pandemic, and no one, their representative, seem not to care, seem not to be there for them. And flat out, they've told me that he's just not taking them on. The cries of the people is what brought me forward as him, because at a true Sandy Point at heart, and knowing that we are SP where the best be, and I'm a defender of that, I recognize that there was a need. And persons in the community who I respect have called upon me many times and said, Stachio, we know you're a businessman, but we've seen the successes, we've seen what you have done. Can you come forward and represent us? We are confident that someone like you could deliver for us in Sandy Point. And so I've answered the call of the people. And to be honest, Azim, I'm very happy that I did, because the overwhelming show of love and support, it really plays to the passion of who I am. I'm just going in there, the alleyways, the byways, talking to people, vibing with them, understanding their cries, and discussing with them solutions, not making promises, but understanding their concerns, and together collaborating around solutions that can move our community and our constituency forward. So that's in a nutshell of how I came to where I am today.
I understand. I mean, the thing for me is that there is no way that we can really separate our environments, the environments that we came up in, that we spend so much time in, the people that we interact with as we evolve and as we grow. We can't separate that from who we have eventually become, right? And
Right.
Hearing you speak, I'm hearing a lot from you saying that the man that I am is a direct result of the experiences I've had in my hometown, right?
That's right.
And you feel now that there is a responsibility on your part to answer the call of the people. That's a fair assessment?
That is a very fair assessment. The
No.
community has
Right.
played an important role in my formative years, and so I am here to give back to that community that I love so much, and the people who deserve better.
All right. Now, when we start talking about entering the political arena, right, there are several ways in which one can become involved, including aligning yourself and drawing on the resources and the infrastructure of a political party. You've done just that. And in answering the calls, have aligned yourself with the People's Labour Party. What was it about that particular movement that you felt tied in so closely with what it is that you wanted to achieve personally?
Well, first of all, as in answering the call, I recognize that the PAM has neglected Sandy Point and our people, and they have done so for the past near 25 years. And I say that because I go back to the days when we had not just this current representative who is the Deputy Prime Minister, but we've had a Deputy Prime Minister before, by way of the Honorable Hugh Heiliger, who also lost because of similar things that we're seeing happening here today, right? And so we've seen the neglect of Sandy Point over the past 3 decades by PAM. We've also seen the abandonment by Labour because they had a chance as well to do better than what we were getting when they had that Sandy Point seat for that one term. And what we saw was more abandonment, more of the same. And so my alignment with the PLP is because we've seen the best of PAM and what they've done. We've seen the best of Labour, what they've done. And to be quite honest, Sandy Point and the Constituency 5, Victory and the Valley, still comes up lacking. We have not advanced, that great town that we once were. And so my joining with the PLP is an opportunity, not just for our constituents to try something new, but to try an option that has been proven to deliver under the leadership of Dr. Timothy Harris, our leader. The PLP has shown in the last 7 years that we were able to implement programs that help the poor, programs that was able to help us during these tough economic times of the pandemic. There's proven leadership there. And so the PLP also provides that unifying force, right? That sits, we're not so far to the left of a red, not so far to the right of a yellow. But I've said that in primary school in Sandy Point, I learned that when you mix red and yellow, you get orange, right? And so orange is that unifying force. And we welcome all. We welcome all. We embrace all the members of the PLP from both sides of the political divide. And so, and not just for St. Kitts alone, even on Nevis, any political party, we welcome everyone because we are not about the old style of politics. We are about a new way of life that really delivers that secure future for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and for me in particular, my good constituents, my good people, Sandy Point, Victory and the Valley.
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying in regards to, hey, we have tried the rest, and apparently you're suggesting that now it's time to try the best, right?
Absolutely.
But people would make an argument for what you're saying in terms of, hey, there's a proven track record that speaks well to the leadership of the Prime Minister. And I have questions about that based on things that are now being said, accusations that are being made. And my question to you is, based on your personal interactions with the Prime Minister, what are your takeaways from those interactions in terms of the man that he is? And how do you reconcile that with what is being said about him by some of his former political partners?
My personal experiences with the Prime Minister is that he is a caring man, right? He has shown, beyond most politicians I've seen, that he can embrace people of all color, all walks of life, whether you're old, young, rich or poor. The Prime Minister has shown, in my opinion, that he is the man that can deliver for all people and can embrace all. That has been my personal experience with him, so I can speak from that. In terms of what other persons might have said out there, politics will be politics. People will always have difference of opinion, but the record would show that as a leader, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but across the Caribbean, OACS and the region, that the leadership that have been on display here, the leadership here in St. Kitts and Nevis, has stand as a stellar example. Many persons, many other governments look to St. Kitts and Nevis and wonder how we get it do. Our economy stood strong during the time of the pandemic, and that came from the leadership, you know. So if you're talking about the future, if you're thinking about securing the way forward, and just an example of the last 7 years, people can have differences of opinion, but one thing that everybody can agree on is that St. Kitts and Nevis stood tall during those times, and that came from the astute leadership of our leader.
Yeah, I think, of course, now as we start, talking about the future for your particular constituency and, of course, the wider nation, right? if you're going to come from a place of, hey, we have been neglected, then there must be some issues, some undeniable issues that needs addressing within the particular community. What would be some of those particular issues that you seek to find the solutions for? And have you, at this point, through your consultations, begun to identify how to address some of those issues?
Absolutely. I see through my canvassing efforts, through the walkthroughs I've been doing in the community, the widespread neglect. And not just for the people, but neglect in terms of infrastructure, neglect when it comes to things like housing.
But that's what I want to know, Stachio. I want to know, because we could use these terms, we could say we were neglected and whatever, but we need to see tangible.
I'm going to speak about the tangibles, right? I'm just telling you what you asked about the problems that I've seen, and I'm going to tell you about the solution. All right. So my plan is to secure that future for Sandy Point by restoring the pride of the people. I have decided to set up on Mount Idle a vision center. Most candidates would have put down a traditional constituency office, but I recognize that one of the reasons why we're struggling in my particular constituency is that there's been no plan. There's been no long-term plan or vision for the development of Sandy Point, Fictional Valley. So I start by putting down a vision center, which is going to be launched officially on Tuesday coming, 28th. So I invite you, I invite the entire public to come out and witness a new brand of development within Sandy Point, where the vision, the long-term plan will be on display for all to see transparently at the Vision Center. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that. So that plan would speak about how Stachio Williams, the PLP representative, is going to set up business incubators within the community. And we're going to start at the primary school level, where we identify talents and skills within individuals very early on and channel them into a parallel program that would help to hone those skills and provide them with managerial support, how to create a business plan, how to shape those ideas, so that very early on, just like myself who was able to start a business at 19, there's nothing to stop someone who, if they're able to develop their business acumen early, start at the age of 10 years old, even earlier, right, and establish businesses. So that is something that I am passionate about and I want to implement. And by way of the Vision Center, we'll have someone stationed there as well who could assist with business plans. We'll put the mentorship programs in place to ensure that that is so. And the business incubator programs will provide all the managerial support, accounting support, legal support, and once the program is successful, financial support that starts up that business so that we can see more entrepreneurs. It's part of our job creation policy, because a lot of times people think we'd have to go somewhere to work and get a job. I am a primary example of that. I've never worked for anyone but myself throughout my entire life. Well, the early part I would have done some summer jobs while I was in school, but from the time I finished, I've established my business and I've been on my own, hiring people, providing opportunities. We need to see more of that because there's more Stachios in Sandy Point, Fig Tree in the Valley. They exist.
I think traditionally, Sandy Point has been at some point economic hub itself. Right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So what you're saying is that there has been a bit of a drop off in that, and you're intending to do things to bring that back?
Absolutely. Okay. This is something we're proud about. We've been prideful about. Sandy Point was the largest town outside of Bastia, where the people didn't have to leave. I grew up in a time when we didn't have to leave. We can go, we can shop, clothes, shoes, thriving supermarket, thriving stores, craft vendors, a public market that was thriving as well. Every day selling fruits and vegetables. That again is non-existent. I want to look at food security, supporting our farmers, giving them the requisite support for irrigation systems so that they could have the materials, fencing, support with land and different irrigation systems and seedling support, all the different things that they would need. I'm actually setting up a meeting with the farmers to discuss this because nothing that I'm saying is going to just be something I'm prescribing. I want to collaborate with every sector to ensure that we're taking into account what their primary needs are and we're meeting them. Food security to the point of reopening the public market, encouraging more produce, and giving them the opportunities by way of technology, again, that I'm passionate about,
Right.
where they could export and market their services online and export and sell to other communities. So that's one area. In terms of fishing, that's another area that we want to invest in heavily. The Pompey area, the Fig Tree area has been a fishing community. The facilities there are non-existent. So my plan is to invest in the restoration of those facilities. As I don't know if you know that Pompey was once a major port of entry. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that. Actually.
Customs was there.
I didn't know that.
The Caribbean Queen at one point used to dock there. Yes. There were boats that would trade between the neighboring islands, St. Martin, Station, and so on. It's right there. It's a dock in Sandy Point. It's still an official port of entry. It's just there's no pays there.
The infrastructure isn't there.
The infrastructure isn't there. So my plan is to restore that infrastructure, right? That brings it back as a major port. The recently established police station now houses a customs and excise department, immigration. So those things are there.
Right.
In a physical building. But the infrastructure and the port side of it is not there.
Okay.
So we need to make that whole, right? And again, that would only encourage more entrepreneurship, more opportunities, more jobs for the people. The boulevard in that area, you see, I'm pretty sure you've been down there at least once, down by Rum Dog Bar and so on, right? Good. There is a great opportunity there. That beautiful Black Sand Beach. Many tourists who travel the world over, when they land there and they visit Sandy Point, they're amazed by the Black Sand Beach and what the potential is and the opportunity to have even more economic activity there. So my plan also includes setting up that as a complete boulevard where businesses can thrive and locally owned businesses as well, so that it could become a major tourism and entertainment destination on the western part of St. Kitts as well. And again, that provides jobs, it provides opportunity for young people, young and old, to own business and feed their families. You know, there's some of the areas. I also want to point out one other thing. I am in pursuit of a zero poverty agenda. In pursuit, I say. Because one of the things I notice, again, you ask, when I walk through the community, I'm seeing pockets of poverty and situations that I don't think should exist in 2022. Persons who still are using outside toilets, for example.
Right.
You know, persons who don't have the basic needs, the basic things they need to feed their family and their children. It hurts me because when we say SP where the best be, that is not an indicator. That's not what we're talking about. And so when I see these things, I know it came from the widespread neglect in the community by our representative, who would say his hands are tied. People are crying out for help. They're not looking for handouts. They're looking for genuine assistance as far as being able to advance themselves. They're looking for ways, and all they need is that support. All they need is that care. I am here to provide that care to them by setting up a hardship fund, for example, where persons, and I mean, in a few days actually, I'll be talking more about that, and for the launch of my vision, our vision center, where persons who, for whatever reason, through the pandemic or life emergencies, crises, can have that hardship fund that is locally funded by our local entrepreneurs and people in the community. It's a community helping each other. Persons can get assistance from that, and there's going to be a community council as well that governs that looks out for their affairs. I believe that in Sandy Point, and I know in my heart that there are people who have what it takes to make this happen. And everyone who can lend support to this will be brought on board to ensure that it is a transparent process, to ensure that we can truly advance our community without necessarily having the support of government. And this is where I say that I don't buy the excuse that people say, oh, I'm in a position or whatever, our hands are tied.
Right,
we need to be creative and innovative. And that is the difference that I bring to Sandy Point. I've shown my creativity and resilience and innovation when I created my businesses. And I'm now drawing from that success story to implement programs in Sandy Point, Fig Tree and the Valley, that would advance our community and our people forward. That's just a taste, but our vision center, we don't outline more plans, and we launch it on Tuesday.
I understand. I understand that you of course are going to give us a little teaser of what the vision center is, because on Tuesday said the launch is. That is right. when the full plans are going to be laid out. But there's two things that you said just now that I want to highlight, because it's almost like you're echoing things that I have been speaking about right here on the show. One, the fact that a lot of times when politicians are outlining plans for the community, there is a recognition of, for instance, you're talking about the situation where you have these little pockets of poverty that you feel with the right impetus could be
the right interventions.
Right.
Yes.
There's also talk about how we put in the roads, we put backboards on the basketball court, we put lights on where the field, those kind of things. A lot of times I want to talk about.
Yes.
However, what I believe sometimes gets neglected is the intangible part of the community, the spirit.
I see where you're going. I'm not going to allow you to say it. I will say it, right? Because the infrastructure is one thing. And by the way, it is still lacking. But it's not about the facility. It's about what goes on within the facility. It's about the people who show up in the facilities. For example, let's talk about sports. One of my plans is to re-establish grassroots programs that would help to develop the sporting talent in Sandy Point, right, in the constituency. Starting again from the primary school level all the way up with mentorship programs, providing the equipment that we need, providing the training gear, providing the coaches, and be very serious about it, because the programs that you put together is what really matters. It's missing right now. There's no proper leagues that are happening in Sandy Point right now. None. In my day growing up, the families would come out on Sundays to support their various teams. Cleverly Hill versus Fig Tree, Crab Hill versus the Alley, Mount Tidal versus the Gut. Those type of things. The various areas would compete. And because of those leagues, we would find the best of our sportsmen evolving and emerging to represent on the national team and further afield. So that's missing, Azim, and you're alluding to that program. Those programs are my focus, because it's focused on people.
Right. And I mean, for me as well, what I was getting at is one of the things that I've always admired about the people of that particular constituency, but in particular Sandy Point, has been this sense of pride about from the people there, right? And it's something that I think a lot of times gets overlooked. Sometimes people just look at it like it's like a joke or whatever, but I think that is very important when you start talking about community. People having a true sense about what is it that we do here, who we are as a people, because I think it really gives people something to strive about. So when you're doing things like the Vision Center, that seems to really focus on long-term planning and outlooks and programs to bring about lasting and sustainable change. Then them is things I like to hear, right? I like to hear about things that ain't gonna really just focus on what we're doing up until the next election, right?
Absolutely.
So kudos on that type of thing. The other thing that you said that I found very interesting, again, something that I kind of try to advocate for, is the idea of communities organizing and doing for themselves, even outside of the political structure, right? Because sometimes when you start, the political structure have to come, because they don't want to be absent from the good things that's happening. But empowering people to be able to do things for self, I think, is something that is lacking a lot of the community.
I have a story in that. You are familiar with the Spirit Group of Sandy Point?
Yeah.
And the Spirit Group that brought Blacks and Bangalang Festival? I was one of the original founders of that group. That group spirit means Sandy Pointers inspiring real improvement throughout. That's what Spirit stands for. Right? And so me and my colleagues who would have came up with that group and was able to make great inroads in the early days has shown clearly that we can, as a community, because we did not have any support, none, from the government, and we were intent on doing it without government support. So we've already shown that we can do, the community can do. Persons were coming out, making their contributions, having families together for the first time we've seen in a very long time. That emergence there. So you're correct. And so my plan also includes fostering those things. And even better now, if we have government policy and support when I'm elected, I could now lend support to that as well. So we're certainly on the right track, and people are seeing the vision, seeing the way forward, and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I mean, listening to you sound very passionate, and it seems like you have a vision for the job that you have to do. But you are very young and new to politics. What challenges do you foresee yourself having jumping into this arena, especially seeing that election is literally some weeks away, and you have just been launched as a new candidate?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't take any elections for someone like me to be passionate about our community or delivering. A while ago when I was talking about the spirit group of Sandy Point, the elections are important as a formality to elect a representative. But the truth is I've always been representing the people, which is why they call on me. And so to answer you directly, using the experiences I've had, my track record in business and action, I am the youngest candidate of the three in the race. But if you compare track record for track record, I have already delivered so much more. And there's a trust and confidence that the people in Sandy Point, Fichy and La Valley, has reposed in me already, even before politics, knowing that I can deliver for them and I care about them. And so that is what it takes to show up. So the next couple of weeks, really, having been launched, is really just a formality. For me, I'm already doing the work, and I will continue to do the work. And it doesn't take politics. But politics and being in the government as a representative allows that elevated position where I could now, using the community development aspects that I've already laid foundation for, I could now utilize the government policies and help to fight for those policies to ensure that the community now can be made whole, that persons can come together, that we can truly feel in our hearts that we are SP, we're the best be.
Well, Sandy Point has been essentially what you could call a Pam town for years upon years, as the Deputy Prime Minister has been leading there for a while, and before that, I will assume that there was a Pam minister.
I think it was only one term that there was a Labour candidate.
Okay. How do you think you will feel coming up against somebody who has held the support of the Sandy Point community for so many years, and then still having to do battle with somebody who has been in the political arena, contesting Sean for a few? For the time that I can remember, he has been contesting Sean on the Labour ticket. How do you think you will fare against those two seasoned politicians?
Well, first of all, to think that Sandy Point is a Pam town is a fallacy. Couldn't be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, as him just mentioned that at one point there was a Labour candidate, right? So to say that it's a Pam town is not correct. The truth is, Sandy Pointers are very peculiar people. We are proud people, and we always look for the best representation. The challenge is that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has never been able to mount a sufficiently good qualified candidate, right? Saved and except for the time for Jacinta Martin, who then got the seat, but we saw what happened, right? Sandy Pointers look for real people who could represent them. People are not going to let them down. The challenge is that the current representative has been letting people down. So here I am. You want to know how I stack up against them? My record of delivery, the things that I've done in the community, the trust and confidence that persons having me is what's shining through at the moment. Is what's shining through because people realize that I'm an action person. I'm just someone who comes on the scene and talk. I will never talk about how my hands are tied. And as him, you've known me for years too. And many of the young people within our space knows that Stachio is a man that delivers big ideas, big things, and get the job done. Full stop. And so I'm not worried about season this and season that. Because guess what? With all the seasoning, the thing still spoil. All the seasoning and nothing to do. So that doesn't matter, right? There's a time and a place and a season, and this season has passed. This is a new season, the dawn of a new era. And so the people, our good people in Sandy Point, Fictional Valley, Constituency 5, are proud to usher in a new representative by Stachio Williams, who they are confident is going to deliver for all, each and every single one of them. No party, no color, Sandy Point. It's not about party, it's about SP. And we'll truly make it about the people. And that is what I bring to the table.
All right, Stachio, man, I totally hear what you're saying, and I think you really provide an option for the people of Sandy Point that they truly would have to consider coming up in the next election. But I want to move the conversation a bit further afield to a national level. We have seen that in politics, there seems to have been a bit of dysfunction, and I think that comes out of the fact that we are a new democracy, we're a new country, we're still having those growing pains as we continue to try and shape things in the way that work best for us, right? What are some of the areas that you, and I'm speaking to you as someone who, this is your first time entering politics in this particular way as a candidate, being associated with a party, right? So you must have been looking on and seeing some of the things that you think are necessary for us to amend, change, do away with, or things that we need to implement to really move the country forward politically, right? And as it relates to really the governance of the country. Are there any issues that you would have recognized? What are they, and what do you think we need to do to address the issue of governance as a whole?
Well, governance is always about the people, right? What I recognize, first of all, and you talk about how we move forward from a political standpoint, the country's been too polarized, right? Where one side not talking to one side and so on. One of the first things we need to address is this polarization and tribal politics. We need to eradicate that. And my joining the PLP team has been about that, because I see this is the best opportunity to do just that. One of the reasons why we would have seen some recent issues is because of the same thing. You know, different people trying to talk at each other because at the end of the day, maybe there's some philosophy or some way in which they want to see things go. The truth is, our community, our people have to be united, especially now. We have to stand united. And so if you look carefully at our team, it's a makeup of persons who come from different political backgrounds coming together, and we have openly welcomed all. So that's one of the first things. If we can then stand united, you know what they say, united we stand, divided we fall. If we're united in that approach, we can achieve many great things. The healthcare issues that are being talked about, if we can stand united, we're able to implement policies that can deal with that properly, right? If we can stand united, the challenges we're facing economically, we're able to overcome those because we could better implement policies that takes care of these economic challenges. We've seen some strong administrative support already. Imagine what we can do if we can have 5 more years of the type of leadership and the type of advanced thinking that has existed within our camp. Again, we're preaching that level of welcoming all on board, embracing all ideas, embracing all our people so we can move forward together. That is how, in my opinion, we solve these things. Of course, there'll always be issues to solve, but it's how you think about the solution For me, I am solutions oriented. Every problem I see is an opportunity to provide a solution. And so with my team, with our leader, we already started looking at, and you'll see our manifesto when it's released, key areas of problem solving by way of applying policies and solutions to those. That comes only under government that is properly united around the people and delivering for the people.
Totally understand. I mean, the point that you made about a need to eradicate, I think was the word you used, the polarization and political tribalism that we have. I think that is a huge task, but a necessary one if we really want to maximize the potential that we have here as Kittitians and divisions. So, I mean, hopefully that is something that as we move forward, we could see dissipating.
I think it will.
I keep saying, I think we're at a crossroads right now. I think this particular election can go a long way in either cementing the tribalism that exists or
making
eradicating
or breaking us. And I'm going to put my positive on the making us. I'll tell you why. For the very first time in our history, you've seen a suite of young candidates come out, right? It signals the end of the old style way of doing things. That's what this is. And what I'm noticing is that even among or even across the political divide, a lot of our young candidates have been friends.
Yeah.
You know, we're not at each other's throats. And at least from my area, you would not see that coming out. The old time way of doing things is gone. And if you look at PLP in particular, we have shown ways, ordinary people who all came from humble circumstances and humble beginnings, coming forward to represent. Because we all understand the plight of the ordinary man. We understand it. And we know what it takes to move the country forward. Together, I say. And that is a critical thing. I know that it's difficult for red to do it. I know that it's difficult for yellow to do it. You know why? Because they keep fighting each other. But what is the one party that shows it has embraced all members of the political divide? And the answer is clear. It is the PLP, and that is why we have the largest turnouts. We have the largest number of persons showing up now, because in our hearts as a people of St. Kitts and Nevis, we know that in order to move forward, we have to move forward together, done with this tribalism. And the PLP and our leadership and our candidates represent that.
Well, Stachio, on that note, we're going to have to wrap up. Time is fast spent, but I mean, we appreciate you taking the time out to come and hang out with us, talk to us and our sippers right here on Island Tea. And I know that the next couple of weeks is going to be very intense, very involved for you. But, wishing you all the best on your campaign. And at the end of the day, I think we all want what's best for the people of the country, and in particular, as I speak to the people of Constituency 5.
I need to end by saying a special good morning again, and thank you to the people of Constituency 5, especially my PLP campaign team who's been out there with me, and the young people who've been supporting me. It is refreshing to see how many volunteers have come forward in the interest of our community. And I'm seeing the same thing across the board for my colleagues as well. I want to say thank you to all of you who've been supporting us. Thank you for all of you who've been sending your well wishes, and we appreciate you, and we will deliver that secure future for you. Thank you so much for having me, Azim. And Jade, it's been a pleasure being here.
All right, Stachio. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk to you again sooner rather than later. And again, thank you for coming and being part of the show this morning, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Guys, we're going to take a short break and be right back right here on Island Tea. Stick and stay.